Jennie Chrien. I am the interim pastor here at Shepherd of the Valley Lutheran Church, and I want to welcome you to our space. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. This turnout is amazing. I am moved, and I'm sure that our other planners of this event are very moved as well. I want to give just a couple of words of introduction to our campus, and then also a few remarks about why this event is meaningful for me. First of all, if you need a bathroom, you're going to go back out the doors you came in and look slightly to the left, that building on that side. There are restrooms there that you can use. Following the program, we are having a reception with lots of yummy desserts. I saw some of them coming in. So that will be in the building directly across the campus, the other side of the playground. You'll just follow the crowd. We'll all be going that way. If there is any medical emergency, any kind of issue, we have some volunteers here who are kind of keeping an eye on things. If you have any issues, let us know. And we are also glad to have security here this evening, which hopefully we won't need. So thank you again so much for being here. I do want to just share briefly why interfaith work, and specifically why the issue of anti-Semitism is important to me. And I want to give you two reasons. I have a personal one and a professional one. My personal reason is that the friend that I've had the longest, who I've known since I was maybe 4 years old, is Jewish. And when we were very young, when we were in elementary school, there would be weekends where I would say, hey, you should come to my church with me and my family on Sunday. And I remember very distinctly, we were no more than 8 years old. And my friend looked at me right in the eye and said, if you ever try to convert me, we are not going to be friends anymore. And I took that so much to heart because as a child I had no concept of any of the history or the cultural weight of what she was speaking into. But I said, okay, like message received, I hear you. And there were weekends where she came to church with me, and there were times when she invited me to go to synagogue with her. I remember one year that I was there on Yom Kippur, and that was a beautiful experience and really eye-opening for me to experience something different than the religious background that I was used to. But I have never forgotten the seriousness with which she took that question. And it really impacted me and made me realize, oh, I need to be respectful of other people's religious identities. I need to hear that and to receive that and to take it very seriously. And I've never forgotten that. And so I'm really glad to welcome all of you here. You have all, in one way or another, received the invitation to come to church. And I'm glad that you're here, and I am not going to try to convert you because that is not what we are here for. But thank you for being here. My professional reason for why this matters is because I am a Lutheran pastor, and we are all right now in a Lutheran church. And the person who gave us that name, Martin Luther, had some truly horrible things to say about the Jewish people. He wrote some things that are absolutely appalling and unforgivable, frankly. And although he was a product of his time, I don't think that excuses him. And we also know from history that the things that Martin Luther wrote in the 16th century were quoted and used and referred to by people many centuries after him to justify anti-Semitism coming from Christians. And because I carry that identity of being Lutheran, it is really important to me to name that history and to work against it. because as Lutherans in particular, I believe that we need to name anti-Semitism, confront anti-Semitism, and ultimately root it out of our own lives, our own communities, and the communities that we share. So again, thank you so much for being here. We are going to join together in singing, and our first song is Let Streams of Living Justice. You are going to see the words up on the screen. If you are the kind of person who likes to read music, you can look in those red books in the pews, and it's number 710. But I think the tune will be familiar, and we'll join in singing together.
Those words from Pastor Jennie. We're really moved. So I'm Sarah Cohen.
And I'm Fabi Wolf.
And first and foremost, of course, we want to thank Pastor Jennie and the staff and the congregation of Shepherd of the Valley for their hospitality and graciousness in participating in this event with us. The Jewish community is going through a challenging time, and it dawned on both of us that we have so many wonderful neighbors around us, and we really should be reaching out to them for support and pull from our similarities. Both of our people, Christians and Jews, love God, our country, our families, and these, to me and to Fabi, we believe those are the fundamentals of our religion. We live for our kids and for our future and for our fellow countrymen. Neither religions teach hate, even when we don't agree on something. We respect our national monuments. We don't disturb the peace. We don't tear down flags or intentionally vandalize any hardworking business in our community. And as everybody knows, since October 7th, we've seen a change in the environment. There's been a 337% rise and over 2,000 reported incidents of anti-Semitism, but those are just numbers. There's people behind that. And we're going to show you some slides up here of local businesses here in Woodland Hills on Ventura Boulevard and on Victory and Fallbrook. We have our, thank you. Of some local businesses that were vandalized. This is Pascal's, that's a bakery, Trophy Man. This is all in the last week. The Baker, you can see a video here of someone throwing rocks, and Tang and Java. So we want to provide support, obviously, and support each other in our similarities and a testament about how it's possible to live together. And that is clearly evidenced by tonight. Here's another great piece of it. I'm looking at that fancy screen here, but I know you guys can see it here. So we really do look at each other as one people, and we're neighbors, and we should act like that. Kind of a fun fact, you'll see on the next slide, is this is a woman named Valerie Amati, and she's a Christian Arab that was the runner-up in the Israeli, like American Idol, like we have, a singing competition, and she's the runner-up, and she's beautiful, as you can see, but equally as talented. So it just goes to show there's so many ways that we can prove this. So I'll turn it over to that.
Tonight you will hear from my diverse group of speakers. First up, Ella Harouche. She's an LAUSD student who experienced hate and backlash from fellow students just for being Jewish. Shira Greenbaum, a student at North Park Community College who experienced a scary incident at school. Nellie Holst, who will appear virtually from Arizona. Nellie traveled with 50 members of her church to Washington, D.C. to fight anti-Semitism. Rania Dean, an Israeli Druze citizen with a worldly perspective on being a good neighbor. Saroya Dean, a Muslim human rights attorney and activist. Elena Colombo, member of the Anti-Defamation League and local resident. Welcome, everyone.
We are so grateful, as you know, for the opportunity to get together and create a safe community where everyone can be respected, supported, protected, and understood. Thank you to our panel, of course.
Sorry. We will have closing remarks from Rabbi Mendelson, and if time permits, some questions and answers. Please join us in Founders Hall, which is where you enter for desserts and drinks. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ella Harouche. I'm a senior at a public high school and like many have experienced anti-Semitism within my school community. I'm a part of the Liberal Arts Magnet Program, a place where critical thinking and diverse studies are valued. The educational expectations are intense, and thus I've always been engrossed in my studies and connected to my classmates through our common love of learning. As the current events in the Middle East have unfolded, I have wondered why my high school, which prides itself on the diversity of thought and experience, only dedicated a brief unit to the study of the Jewish culture. While the curricular studies entail extensive teachings on numerous ethnic, religious, and racial group identities, the rich history of the Jewish people was glossed over, barely focusing on the 6 million deaths among people during the Holocaust. The 11th grade curriculum has an entire unit focusing on the Amemsa group, which is an acronym translating to Arab, Middle Eastern, Muslim, and South Asian. Throughout those few months of studying, not once were Israelis mentioned, as if we were not a real people or community. It was like we didn't exist. They have overlooked the anti-Semitism of authors and speakers we have studied countless amount of times, like Tim Weiss, an anti-racist entrepreneur who not only supports the BDS movement, a global hate campaign affiliated with terrorist groups to boycott all Jewish products, but also spoke to my entire class program and used his Jewish ancestry to show that people like him don't experience racism or oppression. Many of the articles we've read, written by activists my program praises upon, have been cut accordingly to take out the anti-Semitic rhetoric instead of acknowledging their faults and condemning their views. Students have been brainwashed to believe and support famous activists who have changed the world for some, but also worsened it at the expense of others. I don't understand why the world continues to tear us down and overlook the advancements and successes of the Jewish people. It's the oldest hate in history, yet we are still here. This lack of inclusion and attention, or the complete abandonment of the Jewish and Israeli ethnicity, culture, race, and religion, is a direct contribution to the uproar of anti-Semitism led by students. My Jewish classmates and I were harassed on social media, getting messages like, "Israel, your land of peace, except your beliefs and hands are built on top of the blood of others." Publicly shamed by other students, called names, had violent rumors spread about us, and were constantly stared and pointed at because we are Jews. These immature and disgusting tactics to ostracize the Jewish community within my school kept us fearing for what was to come the next day. But living in fear wasn't an option anymore. So we demanded a curriculum change and ensured the aggressors were held accountable to the head of the magnet program. I also spoke to the school board of LAUSD in hopes of changing the anti-Semitic school system. Of course, we still feel unsafe. The safety of Jews in school communities have become less than a priority, although it is significant humanity sticks together. On October 7th, I was their peer, and on October 6th, I was their peer, and on October 7th, I became their target. But those who stood with me and other Jewish students helped made an impact in our school environment. My non-Jewish friends especially have always supported me because they know that we're all rooted in the same values. Without them, I could have not been more stronger and prouder to be Jewish during these heartbreaking times. The countless check-ins, donations, and their attendance at fundraising events to share their love and prayers are something I will never forget. And that is why we must follow the words of both the Torah and the Bible, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Shira Greenbaum, and I'm a student at Moore Park College. On November 7th, exactly 1 month after October 7th happened, I was invited by the Christian club on campus as the vice president of the Jewish club to come and talk about everything that was happening and about the war. And when I came to speak, so I was invited by the Christian club to come and speak. The idea was that they would invite both the Muslim club and the Jewish club to come and talk and explain their side of things. It was supposed to be held at separate times, but when I showed up, the Muslim club was already there. But anyways, I talked to the Christian club, and they were very supportive and understanding of everything that we were going through. And afterwards, I left, and I went to our main quad area, where there was a table set up for a Stand for Israel table. Next to it, there was a display of 200 Israeli flags, It was meant to represent one for each hostage being held in Gaza right now. When I showed up, there was a Muslim girl there, and we started having a conversation. She was clearly pro-Palestinian, I was clearly pro-Israel, but it was a very respectful and understanding conversation. Then other students started showing up, and it started to become less respectful. They were arguing with me, they were shouting over me, they started filming me, and they just surrounded me, and it turned into a huge crowd. After a bit, the students from the Muslim club from earlier showed up, and the Muslim girl who I was speaking to beforehand, said under her breath, "Oh no, here come the crazies." And that's when I started to get nervous. The whole thing got really out of hand, and luckily one of my friends saw me and came to check in on me. And after that, they saw that I wasn't alone, I wasn't the only Jewish student there, and so things started to de-escalate a bit. Afterwards, I went to my car, and when I was sitting in my car, and I noticed that there was a guy walking around the parking lot. He was going row by row erratically. He was looking through individual cars. He was clearly, I'm pretty sure he followed me from the crowd. I recognized him from the crowd earlier because he was very pro-Hamas. He said crazy things like how Hamas are the good guys, and that what happened on October 7th was a good thing because it helped liberate Palestine. And so I got nervous. I hid in my car, and thankfully he didn't see me, but at one point he was right outside my car. And as scary as the situation was, what was really disappointing is how my school reacted to it. The next day I went and I reported everything to campus police and the school administration. And instead of doing something and trying to find the student who followed me, or any of the students who were harassing me earlier, they just chose to ignore the situation. They chose not to look into it, they chose not to investigate it. In fact, they treated me like I was the problem. They said, if you don't feel safe, we can have police take you to your class because you don't feel safe. They said that if we probably shouldn't hold our Jewish club meetings in public, we should do it in a private place. And they basically just insinuated that it was our fault for being present. And unfortunately, this was only one of several incidents on campus. This had happened to many of my friends, and there's nothing special about these incidents. This is happening to thousands of other students all over America and other parts of the world. Our schools and universities continue to fail to uphold their own values of equity and belonging when it comes to Jewish students. The enabling of harassment and violent actions towards students, no matter who they are, is unacceptable. These schools have a responsibility to condemn and punish these actions in order to uphold the safety of all their students, but they simply don't. Jewish hatred and Israeli hatred is just a symptom of a much larger institutional problem. These schools should fully be blamed and forced to take responsibility for allowing us to feel unsafe. But at the same time, there needs to be a focus on these students who continue to spread hatred and fail to accept accountability for their actions. Look at those students at my school. Those people who I've never been spoken to before only knew 3 things about me: that I was Jewish, that I was Israeli, and that I was very proud of both those things. And that was enough for them to hate me. It's one thing to have a different opinion. Everyone's entitled to that. Except they won't let us have an opinion on what's happening to our own people. And for us, it's not just a political debate. It is personal for every single one of us. We all faced a huge tragedy. I'm not the same person as I was on October 6th. I don't think any Jew or Israeli is, and I don't think we ever will be. For us, every day since October 7th, which by the way, today is like October 100th, because it's the 100th day since October 7th, every day since then has been another funeral, another body, another horrible story of a brutal murder or rape. And what makes this so difficult is that they didn't let us grieve or mourn for every single one of our people that we lost. Instead, people all over the world and all over our campuses celebrated their deaths and kidnappings. They defended those terrorists. They demanded proof of what happened, and when we gave it to them, they denied it. I've seen this in the news, in several videos, and now I've experienced it firsthand. And if you think this doesn't concern you because you're not Jewish, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Hatred spreads like a wildfire. And the ideology of terrorist organizations like Hamas, Hezbollah, and ISIS have already been integrated into our society. For them, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Christian, atheist, or even progressive Arab. They are willing to do anything in order to destroy and see the elimination of Western civilization. We need to be united together against hate. Right now, we are fighting a war for humanity, and we can't afford to lose. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Nellie from Tucson, Arizona. I used to live in Simi Valley until we moved here 16 years ago. Fabi asked me to make this video because unfortunately I got sick with a nasty flu, plus I got something else, and now my husband is sick. So I was heartbroken, but I'm hoping this video will help share details in 5 minutes about my trip to DC. So back in November, my friend asked me if I supported Israel, and I said, you know I do. I got a phone call and she gave me details about an organization which takes Christian youth, I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's a combination, to Israel to learn more about the Promised Land. And as Christians, how we need to support Israel and our Jewish friends. We both applied that evening after my husband gave me his blessing, and we heard back next morning that we were qualified to go. We have 4 days to get ready. We were very, very excited. We asked our church and many friends to pray cover of protection over the event and of course, for safety for us. Once we arrived in Baltimore, we were taken in a bus to DC. We took a detour to the Museum of the Bible, where they have prepared a session of education on really what was going on in Israel and what happened on October 7th. I wish I could share more details, but the one speaker I will never forget was one who gave us had screenshots or slides of what happened that day. And early on, I was typing up what I remember. I actually have the slides on my phone. It was a demonic attack. There is absolutely no doubt about it, and it's heart-wrenching what happened to those poor people. From all over the world, I wanted to cry and take leave because I couldn't handle the stress. It was just awful. There were other speakers from Focus on the Family. There was a pastor who was getting ready to go to Israel with a crew. And of course, they canceled his trip and he refused to stay in the US, and he went by himself to see what he can do. We finished, and then, so we finished, and then we started walking towards the National Mall. And it was such a sight because we didn't feel unsafe. Everybody was just happy. Lots of young friends, and not so young. And the weather was perfect. So we finally arrived at the site, and we were so shocked to see hundreds upon
Well, it goes like this, a Hi everybody, my name is Rania Dean. I'm a Druze from Israel. Does anyone here know what Druze are? Oh wow, thank you. I didn't expect that. So for everybody that doesn't know what Druze are, Druze, look at that picture on the screen. You see the first picture is at Mount Sinai, right? Our relation with the Jewish people started right there. Our prophet, Jethro, who is the father-in-law of Moses, who helped him on Mount Sinai, was our founder, and since then we have a very special connection with the Jewish community. We keep our religion secretly because we obviously were oppressed and suppressed for so many generations. That's why our religion is secret. Even me, as a secular, I'm not allowed to know everything about my religion, but from what I know, that in our religion we have a reincarnation, that we, the soul passes when you die, and you pass away, you pass out, pass away, right? Sorry for my English. And the other picture where you see Israeli flag, and the other flag is our flag, it's our temple, Jethro's temple, near Tiberias town. And the Druze people in Israel are about 158,000. It's around 1.61% of the Israeli community. We are well integrated in the Israeli community. We serve in the army. We consider ourselves as 100% Israelis. We have so many people that are in any level that you want in Israel, whether it's the army, the administrative positions, politics. So this picture, that handsome guy there with the army clothes is my late dad. He passed away on May 25th, 2023. And this when he just started his army, when he was so young. The person up on the other, on the top, is my uncle. He was Commander Lieutenant Sganaluf in the army, and he served in Sinai until it was returned to Egypt and also in Gaza. That beautiful girl, she is my husband's cousin. She's also a commander in the police forces. The one on the bottom there, he's also my husband's uncle. He was the founder of the Druze Zionist movement. And the one on the top on the left, he's also my husband's uncle. And he was Knesset member from 1977 till 1988. He was also the founder of Beit Yad Labanim Ladruzim, which I think you know what is it, and also the founder of the pre-military Mechina, like a college for pre-military. Yes, and my dad also was a member of the Likud party back then. He was the vice mayor in my town. So as you see, why I'm saying that, not to just show off, which I'm very proud of my family, but we are non-Jewish. We are non-Jewish. We are just people who wanted to live in peace within Israel. And what the Jewish people did, they helped us. They said, yes, if you want to live with us in peace, you are part of us. We have a connection with the Jewish people called the blood covenant, that our blood is related, not only as neighbors, but now as brothers, in good days as bad days. For me to be Israeli Druze, I can't see myself more Israeli than Druze or more Druze than Israeli, but yet, whenever there is war between Israel and another Arab country, for example, and we do have Jewish people there, I see myself 100% Israeli, like anyone else. And I'm proud of it. My dream is that to have peace all over the Middle East. That's anyone's dream. And that's also the Jewish people's dream. This is how they vision the end of the days. Like they say clearly, I don't remember exactly the one, so I'm gonna read it. They say in Hebrew, and I'm gonna translate it to English, I'm gonna try. ושפט בין הגויים והוכיח לעמים רבים וכיתתו חרבותם לעתים וחניתותיהם עם מזמרות ולא יישא גוי אל גוי חרב ולא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. The vision and hope that people will never have war again and that instead of their swords they will turn it into musical instruments. This is the Jewish people. This is their vision. And as Israeli non-Jewish person that lived the war, I was born into war. I experienced so many wars. One day, during the Second Lebanese War, I was so tired in the shelter, after 1 month in the shelter, and I said, oh my God, I'm so tired, I'm gonna go to my room, I don't care, I wanna sleep. And then I remember that I just slept apparently like this, and then I said, what if rocket will fall now? I don't wanna live without a hand or a leg. So I cuddled myself like this. I said, if the rocket will fall, I'm gonna die. That's better for me. And this is our reality there. Why I'm saying this? Because this is how we live there. We just experience war after operation after operation. And does these wars differentiate between Arab and Muslim and Christian and Druze and Jewish and Haredi? No. People are killed there every day, especially after the October 7th. This proves more than ever, for me at least, that this war is not against Jewish only, but mainly against Jewish. And I'm sorry to say that, but for me, as I see it, everywhere, like people were condemning. Let's start from the beginning. When this happened, and thousands were killed in Israel, brutally, beheaded, murdered, raped. No one said a word. No human rights, no women rights, no one. And I follow news so carefully. No one said something. And then suddenly when Israel had the right to defend itself and went into Gaza and said it loud and clearly, we are not against Palestinians. We are against this terrorist group called Hamas. What happened? The whole world suddenly started to say, we condemn this, Israel is this, Israel is that. And I'm sorry that I'm opening this here. I know you want to hear something very like mainstream, but this is coming out of pain. I don't feel there is justice here. And I believe that everyone that believes in humanity should see this not as a war between this group of people and this group of people. It's between people who admire death and people who admire life. So we should decide which side we should take. The side of those people who want to build, develop, live happily, or the side of these people who want to destroy. And when I say these people, I don't mean Muslims, I don't mean Arabs, because nowadays I see this hate not only among these groups of extremists, and even more than that, I see it in Europe, I see it here in the USA. I was just reading that 400 anti-Semitism cases were recorded in the mountain states just few days ago, here, including Colorado, 400. And this is just one example. So imagine how our lives will be if we give this hater spirit to control this world. Is it gonna be only for Jewish people? I doubt it. It's gonna be me, you, everybody who believes of the right of liberal life. And luckily for me, I understand and speak fluently 2 languages, Hebrew and Arabic. I see everything on the TV and I hear the messages, and I know that these groups, they don't only aim against other groups, they also aim against other Muslims who don't believe like them. And look at Syria, what's happening in Syria. People were genocide. They committed genocide against people, Arab people, Muslim people, Yazidis, Druze. Just in 2018, they killed from my community, they killed in Syria around 200 in one day because they didn't want them to live their belief. Also Christians in the north of Syria, near Halab, they forcibly converted so many people into Islam, and so many other groups that are Muslims, but they want to just live like anyone else. They came against them as well. So I see it in my point of view as every era has a challenge. I see these days challenge is really to maintain the spirit of to live the way we are, to respect other people's will. They want to be Jewish, they want to be Muslims, they want to be Christians, just to respect and not to force our beliefs into others. And that's my message. I just want to show one more. These are people from my community. This is not strange to me. Everywhere we are very proud to be Israeli. Just wanted to tell you that. That girl just won after 7th of October. She won a boxing competition, and she was so proud of this victory, and she devoted it to Israel. And what can I say? I just wanted to really be here and talk my heart to you and tell you that we need to be united, because this, as I said before, and I'm gonna repeat it, this war is everywhere, and it's not really against specific nation only, even though it is. But if we don't stop it now, it's gonna spread to be against every one of us. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. And please turn to the person next to you and behind you and introduce yourself. After me. We are the leaders we have been waiting for. We are the leaders we have been waiting for. This is very important to know, because nobody is going to write your song, sing your song, write your book, or do your dance. We know there's a lot of work to be done in our community, and we must step up. It's such a moment for us. You know, when I speak at churches, I always say, if the 3 wise men were 3 wise women, they would have brought gifts, asked for directions, and cleaned the stables. And mine and your incredible thanks to Pastor Jennie, Sarah, and Phoebe, and all the women in this church who put this event together, and also all the men. We are extremely grateful. To Ella and Shira and all the youth in this room, I say we are sorry. We didn't do enough, and we have given you a challenging baton to fight. And for us, accepting evil without protesting is cooperating with it. We must carry that message forward. October 7th was a defining moment in my life. It was a defining moment because not enough Muslims in my community condemned October 7th. October 7th was a defining moment because it destroyed, for me personally and for my colleagues, years of hard work we have done to build bridges in the city of Los Angeles and across the United States. October 7th is scary for me because we have today a fertile ground to raise a generation of youth without national pride. We have a fertile ground where might rise hatred for each other in this beautiful country of ours. But also October 7th gives us hope. It's a time for us to rejuvenate. We didn't do enough. October 6th did not mean there was peace. It was a facile, fragile peace. It reminds us today that we need to rejuvenate ourselves and strengthen our faith. My father used to tell me this story. I was born in Sri Lanka. How many of you know where Sri Lanka is? Good. Sometimes I have to say it's not going to India and making a right. So he tells this story about there was a severe famine, a drought in a city, and people were praying relentlessly, invoking for rain. So one day the church said, come to the square, we are going to pray and we are going to ask for God's blessings for rain to come. All the adults gathered, and there was one child who gathered, who came with an umbrella. We need faith. We need faith in ourselves, and we need faith in our community to carry forward the next phase of our work. So I want to save us in 5 minutes. I'll be very crisp and short. I want to talk about a blueprint. Dr. King, we are going to remember him tomorrow, right? He said, in the midst of all that tragedy and struggle, he said, hate is too much of a burden to bear, I stick with love. He calls us to love. So I want to talk about a blueprint for us as we leave here today. As a community organizer, I'm always focused on not what we are going to do today, listening and learning, but what are you going to do tomorrow? We must make a point to remember that. So first thing I would say, let us not major in minor things. There's a lot to get hurt about. There's a lot of attack. I mean, I have so many names, I've run out of remembering them. They call me Zionist proxy, a sellout, not a Muslim. I mean, the names are plenty, but I thought I'll step into those names. I'll be a Zionist proxy because I'm a Muslim who believes in a state for Israel. When I went to Israel last month, I met a woman by the name of Mirev. Mirev lived in Kibbutz Be'eri. She came to see us because the day we went, the ceasefire ended. So we couldn't cross over, but we were like 5 miles from the border. She came to see us. And she was telling this horrific, tragic, traumatic story about what happened to her. I had videos, I showed it at the synagogue the other day, but we have limited time. But I'll tell the gist of it, where she was talking to her mother, and the mother said, I can hear Arabic voices outside. And she said, okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow, and she hung up. And then she opened the door for the terrorist Hamas. And she said to them, I am alone. Whereas she got her husband and her grandson to hide somewhere in the house. The terrorist Hamas, in the most brutal, savage, satanic way, they butchered her. They butchered her. And then they went to her sister's house and they killed her sister's son, Mirev's nephew. And then they took the other son to Gaza. And several weeks ago, we learned that they killed that son too. So there was this Jewish delegation that was telling to us what happened, and Miriam was very clear. She said, it's not all the Palestinians, it's the Hamas, the terrorist Hamas. In that grief, she was able to discern the difference. And I think I can't totally agree with her, but I loved her for that. Because she gave me a new way of thinking. And then the Bedouins, they are Muslim Arabs. They have taken so many Muslim Arabs hostage. And we went to the city of Rafah and met Bedouins. And we got to know, and a few weeks ago we had a son of a hostage, a Bedouin hostage, and his brother come to Los Angeles, and we shared their anguish and their trauma. But they didn't want to tell us any details because they were so mortally scared of Hamas. Not to major in minor things is like the people we encounter, they're going to really push us to the wall, criticize us, call us names, but we have to stand tall. And then it's a time for us not just to concentrate, this is the second blueprint, not just to concentrate in the length of life, but talk about the breadth of life. And the length of life is our pursuits of us for our own good. You develop yourself, you become a doctor, you become a lawyer if you want to, you do things for yourself. And in that process, it is true we must learn to love ourselves first. And we can't stop there. There are so many millions of people who are concentrated only on the length of life. What is it for me in this? What we talk about is the breadth of life. Focus on the breadth of life. The output, the welfare of the other. How can we stand up for our Jewish communities who are deeply hurting at this time? Is a critical question we must wake up and ask every day. And if you listen, what better place for me to share this story than at a church? The story of the Good Samaritan, right? The people said, oh, who didn't help him, said they couldn't help him. But one person asked the question, not what would happen to me, but what would happen to him if I don't help. So we need to ask that question. And the third and the most important thing here, what Rania said was, she's a Druze and Jethro was Moses' father-in-law. The third blueprint I want you to please remember is read Exodus 17, 13 to 24. There's a valuable lesson for us there because as community organizers, Jethro watched people coming in hundreds to talk to Moses. And he said, Moses, what's wrong with you? How can you help hundreds and thousands of people? You need to organize. Organize yourself into 1,000, 100, 50s and 10s. And then appoint leaders within that hundreds and tens and 50s. You know the story, Rania, yes? Yes. And that is what we are going to do in our city. That is what we say is community organizing. We don't want mobilizing. We have people who are mobilized, but they're not organized. On campuses, we need to organize our youth, to organize. So to remember, go back and read, and maybe we'll come to church again and Pastor Jennie will explain to us in detail. So what he said was organize. So because my 5 minutes is up, I want to just finish with this thought again, a quote of Dr. King, who said, if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, sit. And he said, for goodness sake, don't stay still. Do something. Thank you.
Sing together, and this is a prayer that we can pray together. because these are the ways that we build relationship and build community, is by praying together and singing together. So thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to take a moment to put my flashcards together. I am Elena Colombo, in Italiana, Jew by choice. And when I'm Italiana, I'm a Jew by choice. I'm like everyone here. We're all each other's brothers and sisters. And it's such an honor to be here. And on behalf of my community, our community, and one love of mine, which is so huge, which is my synagogue, Hamakom. And our Hamakom is the place, and it's located right here in beautiful West Hills and Woodland Hills, depending which campus you would like to visit. So, very honored to be part of that. And I'm a Jew by choice, and I became a Jew by choice in just last year, almost 6 months ago, but I've always felt like I've had a Jewish soul. And I was so honored to be a part of this community and to be here this evening. And I'm also a member of the ADL, but in the ADL created a program that is called Kulanu, which is kind of a funny word, because I'm gonna ask everyone to say the word Kulanu. You would think, when I first read it, I was like, is it a wave? Am I going to go to a destination? But it's bigger than that. In Hebrew, Kulanu means all of us. And that's what we are here right now, all of us, every one of us. And as it is a program in Hamakom, I want you to just keep that word Kulanu while I go over a little bit of what the ADL does. But that Kulanu is really everybody, all of us. So I want you to hold on to that, because it's also an easy word to pronounce in Hebrew if you're not fluent like I am. So as a member of the ADL, which stands for the Anti-Flamination League, is a global organization that started in 1913. And their mission is to combat anti-Semitism, extremism, bigotry, and hate, and also combat civil rights. And I have the honor to be part of Hamakom's Kulanu group, that I have some of our beautiful members right here. I'm so grateful. And what the ADL did was they asked participating synagogues, would you like to join this? We're going to have a program and we would like participants to create a group. And within that group, they asked, we will train you, we will give you all the tools that you need with continuous support, continuous webinars with the experts. And we just ask you, pick 2 things that you would like to do, which would be, I'm going to get the rest of my cards, incentives. And what our group did, I love you guys, I have to just say that right now, I've never got a chance to say it so much like this. We chose 1, our youth, our future. And my heart goes to you so much. We're going to be here for you, so I'm going to get your information afterwards. But we picked that as our internal, where we can work, internal incentive, which is offering educational support, supporting to the high school, how to report, all the different steps to report, and also how to deflate a situation. Because that's something that's very hard sometimes when someone is coming at you, how you respond. Because a lot of us might go into that fight or flight mode, and what is the best way to speak and how to bring it down. And that is a tool that, has made therapists very rich, So that's, we're really working on programming, a program that's going to be specified with both of your communities. So we're here for you. And your mom's right there, and amazing. And the other external one was, we chose, it's what brought us out here today, we chose outreaching to our interfaith communities. Because as you've heard this evening, we all need each other, because we are all each other's brothers and sisters. And we can't stay silent, and we can only be stronger together. So we'd like, and we're so blessed to have this evening, is to build relationships, build communities, and ways that we can work together and fight anti-Semitism and hate. And that is one of the wonderful things of this Kulana group that we are doing, and I'm very honored to be speaking on behalf of that. And as one of the things I learned with the ADL and also with our wonderful group, the Kulana group that we have here, and is, what do I do when I'm hit with anti-Semitism? What do we do? What are the steps? I've had a couple different incidences regarding this, where I was advocating for Paul Kessler, who passed away. I was in I was in Westlake, and that was a press conference, yes. I was in Westlake, and I had seen his scattered blood, and I'm part of another volunteer organization called the Havra Kadisha, and we do traditional burials, and when we see the blood, it's very sacred, and it is sacred also to anybody. When you see blood, it could trigger lots of different things, and I decided to draw a Star of David, and I was not expecting press around me. I just thought, I'm going to go to Target, I'm going to buy $7 worth of chalk and draw something, and then hopefully have the community come and write words of love onto the concrete where Paul Kessler had been hit. And what was so amazing during that time, I went there, and I'm from here, but I go to Westlake because of the vegan restaurants, and I found myself with this huge community of all different people. We had Israeli people coming to bringing flowers and candles. We had people from a church coming, and it was just the community coming, mourning the death of someone who just stood. He just stood there. It was he left that day and didn't come home. And it was amazing to see how the community came together. And what amazed me was another aspect of it was that while I was drawing, and I would go touch it up every day, and I would fix the flowers and work with, fixing the candles and clean up a little bit, and people would be coming continuously throughout the week also, is I would have people screaming at me. just yelling, spew words that I can't say right now, but evil. And as you would see, I'd be drawing, touching it up, and someone would be at a red light and they would threaten me. And I would stand up, and I usually would have in this photo I'd have my Israeli flag, and I thought, what do I do in this moment? What do I do? Do I yell against the person? No. And some of you know me, some of you don't, but I'm a big Bob Marley fan, and I love the Torah. The Torah helps me every single day. And while they would be screaming, I would just say, I love you. I love you, man. And I would say one love. And a lot of times I would still yell, and I would continuously yell it, because the light's very long there at Westlake. It's very long. And I would see them, slowly you could just see their body language in their car just go down. And then I remember seeing someone giving me a heart. And even though in the times when someone is coming at you, it's a very triggering thing, how do we change that scenario? I'm only responsible for me. And in a time that is so dark right now, it's really important to spread light and send the love. And trust me, it's not easy. A lot of therapy has gone into working on this. But going from a place of love, going from a place of, I'm responsible for me, you're going to keep yelling at me, but I'm going to keep sending you love. Because that's the base of all the principal religions and spiritual things that we have in this world right now. And I saw the difference. And one of the things that I really can't tell people enough is when combating hate or anti-Semitism is learning how to speak. Learning how to speak to that person, learning how to deflate the situation. Because it's very easy when someone's going back and coming at you to be that reactive, but with the ADL, they've had some amazing tools to help anti-Semitism on all these steps and how to deflate the situation. And just being here together in one love and sending that truth of light and love, and with anti-Semitism, understanding. It's understanding, where's that person coming from? Why are they being influenced? What is it? And just not going to that high level that they are, but trying to speak to them and say, I respect you, you respect me. Can we just talk? And just come from a very quiet place. And I've seen the difference. And understanding some of the stuff that we see going around of anti-Semitism hate is cognitive dissonance, which is when someone's morals don't follow with their acts. And understanding that comes from a place of love and empathy. And I just want to say, I can't stress enough to say, one love, and to be in this time of darkness, spread light. And if you are being verbally abused or attacked, anti-Semitism, I'm going to give you our number, anything, but step back for a moment. And I know that Hamakom Kulana group was here for all of you. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not, because we're also here to build our community and make it a better place. So thank you so much to this community.
Our Bishop, Brenda Boss, is here, and she's just going to give a word of greeting.
Thank you. I am Brenda Boss, and I serve as the Bishop of the Southwest California Synod. What that means is that there are about 106 Lutheran congregations between Long Beach and Atascadero, and I am sort of their spiritual leader. I'm not anybody's boss, really. I'm not Pastor Jennie's boss. I'm not, but I'm supposed to be encouraging and representing Lutheran Christians in this region. And I'm so humbled to be here. I'm so grateful for all of you. I drove up tonight and I thought, I cannot believe how many cars are in the parking lot. I just come from a Martin Luther King celebration at our university. About 200 people celebrating him, and one of the things that they mentioned, of course, tonight was when he said, hate is too much to bear. I choose love. And as I'm hearing these stories tonight, and I'm so happy to hear from you and so horrified that you have stories like this to tell, I hate that for you. I'm sorry that we have to have a world where people who should just be able to live their lives are fearing for violence and cruelty. I don't know about the Christians in the room, but every time I go to a Jewish synagogue and see the security guard, I'm reminded again about our incredible privilege to be Christians that don't have to think about, do we need a security guard? We do not. And that has been the most sobering thing for me when I have been in temples and I have to pass through the metal detector and the gate closes behind me. Lord have mercy. So thank you for coming. And I hope that you hear welcome and compassion from us. I'm now going to say something that not every Christian leader says. So to the Christians in the room, we don't have to disagree with the Jewish people. We don't have to disagree with the Muslim people. Here's the shocking thing. Because God doesn't need Christians to defend God. When you say, what's the anti-Semitism? What's the root of it? We're afraid that somehow Jesus, who we follow, is going to be harmed if you keep believing in God the way that you believe in God. Jesus does not need Christians to defend Jesus. God, we have one God. We have one God, and we are all worshiping at that God's feet, at that throne. And so, I think the Christians in the room know that. But Jesus doesn't need us to defend Jesus. God needs us to love all of God's people. And so I pray that tonight, our relationships have deepened with each other because we've heard each other's stories. We've seen the pain. We've realized that people are having different experiences than we are. And we should be humbled by that and touched by that. So again, thank you to our guests who have come tonight. You have blessed us with your presence. And I pray God's blessings upon all of us. And may we all be transformed and moved to more compassion, more love. How do you act differently tomorrow? When you go to be with other friends, when you go to be with coworkers or family, you can say, I went to this event last night at a Lutheran church, and there were hundreds of people that stood together against anti-Semitism. Oh, well, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't need to talk about politics. I loved the people I met. Well, you know, I don't know who I stand for. I don't need to explain all of that either. But I saw my sisters and my brothers and my siblings, and we were united in ways that the world cannot understand. May God bless you and keep you, and may peace come to us all.
Thank you. That was really beautiful.
You're welcome, Rabbi. Thank you for being here.
I'd like to begin by acknowledging that today marks 100 days.
Fix the mic.
I did it earlier.
All right, try it now.
And I'd like to begin by... Is it working?
We made it through the whole night.
Now I can speak loud. Okay. Now it's working. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that today marks 100 days of the Israeli hostages being held captive in Gaza. Today there are still 132 hostages being held. Bring them home now. I'd like us all here to take a brief moment of silence and pray for their safe return home. Bring them home now. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and thanks for our amazing speakers. And Sarah, Fabi, Pastor Jennie, Ella, Shira, Rania, Soraya, Elena, Bishop, thank you so much. This is such a beautiful experience to stand here in front of so many of our Jewish and Christian brothers and sisters in solidarity to help fight and combat anti-Semitism. I want to begin by sharing a few statistics that I never thought as a 34-year-old millennial I would ever see in my lifetime. I thought anti-Semitism was in the history books. I took a class in rabbinical school, the history of anti-Semitism. Well, that class now has to be updated. It's no longer the history of anti-Semitism. It is our present lives that we are facing. Since October 7th, 100 days ago, according to the ADL, U.S. anti-Semitic incidence has risen 360%. Those are just incidents that were reported. Not every incident is reported. Jewish students on U.S. college campuses and in high school have borne the brunt of anti-Semitic incidents, as we heard from Ella and Shira. My heart breaks for the two of you. Recently, I picked up a book by Rabbi Diana Fursko. She's also a millennial rabbi living in the Village in New York, one of the most liberal parts of New York City and one of the most liberal states in our country. She, like me, grew up thinking that anti-Semitism, the history of it had already been written. But now she says that we are living in a new chapter. The next generation is facing the brunt of these anti-Semitic incidents. She writes that we're not just looking at anti-Semitism now, but anti-Semitism is looking right back at us. And what are we going to do about it? She continues that the crushing reality is that millennials and Gen Zers are woefully unprepared to answer that question. Nearly half of millennials my generation believe that only 2 or 3 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust, when the real number is over 6 million Jews, including 1 million children. An astounding 11% of millennials believe that Jews somehow caused the Holocaust. 11% of a generation. And nearly half of millennials and Gen Zers cannot name a concentration camp or a ghetto, of which there were over 40,000. That is not okay. These statistics seem shocking in the modern world. But had I not grown up going to religious school 3 days a week, I might be one of these millennials unaware of Jewish history. Growing up attending public school, I was shocked in my high school history textbooks when they treated the Holocaust as an afterthought to World War II, spending only a short paragraph on the bottom of one of the pages describing the horrors of the Holocaust. So what do we do? For me, I believe that it starts with education. Many people do not know the history of the Jewish people or the history of Jewish hate. After all, many Americans have never even met a Jew in their life. Growing up in Georgia, going to a university in Georgia, I was the first Jewish person many of my friends had ever met. Jews make up 0.2% of the global population and only around 2% of the population here in the States. There are only about 15 million Jews left in the world. The Jewish people are a statistical anomaly, a rounding error, a tiny minority in a country of minorities. And yet, we, the Jewish people, are the victims of nearly 60% of religiously motivated hate crimes in this country. We can't afford ignorance. Even if today is the first time you have ever met a Jewish person, it is time to start learning about and talking about anti-Semitism and how we can combat this poison. So let's begin with what is anti-Semitism. According to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, their working definition of anti-Semitism is: anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. We saw on the screen just a little while ago that here in our community in the West Valley, stores and restaurants are being targeted. They're having rocks thrown at their windows simply because they are owned by Jews. This is happening in the year 2024 in the United States of America. It's unbelievable. How do we combat anti-Semitism? I'd like to share just a few ways, and this is really just the beginning. It can be found in Barry Weiss's book titled How to Fight Anti-Semitism. Has anyone read this book? It came out a couple of years ago. I highly recommend reading it. It's a very short book, 200 pages. You can read it on a Shabbat. It is an amazing, amazing book. One step, she tells us, call it out, especially when it's hard. Criticize ideas, not identities. As Elena shared, we have resources to call out anti-Semitism. You can talk to one of us. You can go online to the ADL's website and report an incident. And if you see someone spreading hate, whether it's in person or it's online, don't criticize the individual, but criticize their ideas. Criticize the hatred that they are sharing. Open up that dialogue, open up their hearts, and spread love rather than hate. Second, we must notice our enemies. They are all around us, but even more, we must notice our friends. Look around tonight. Look how many of us came here on a Sunday evening in the middle of the LA Rams playoff game. And no one has checked the score. It's amazing. We are all here together. The hatred that is occurring in our community, in our country, in our world, can be drowned out when we come together and stand up against hate. For all of us here tonight, let us remember this feeling of unity, this feeling of love. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. It all starts with love. We are called to love one another, to show up for each other, to drown out hatred with love, support, and solidarity. When someone is attacked because of their identity, whether they are Jewish or they are not Jewish, but if they are attacked simply because of who they are, we must call that out. That attack is not an attack on that individual, that is an attack on all of us. That is an attack on America. It is an attack on our world. Number 3, we must build community. That's what we're doing here. It's just the start. The work of fighting anti-Semitism can't be done alone. And it can't be done solely by the 2% of America. Your holy name, grant the Jews of this world your protection, your wholeness, and healing, and your peace. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who makes peace above make peace upon us and upon all of Israel, as we say, amen. Thank you so much.